Hey everyone, this is Joel. Just letting you know we're going to start in just about a minute. So you should be seeing a screen and you should be hearing my voice, but we will be starting very soon. Like I said, very soon. This is Joel. I'm welcoming you to our scheduled Wednesday webinar. Today is July 8th, 2020, and our topic today is Let's Talk TIA, the Teacher Incentive Allotment. And I am not just presenting by myself here. I have with me Paige Parker, who's our Senior Professional Learning Coach. Like I said, I'm Joel Adkins. I'm the Digital Learning Coordinator here at Eduphoria. And we also have Shanna James, who's the Product Manager over Evaluation and Learning. And we will have a special guest who's not listed here join us in a little bit to also provide information to you all. So we are very excited to be here. We thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. And we have a lot of information to cover with you. So in this type of webinar, we have a Q&A window, and that's where you can post questions or comments. It's a little bit different than past webinars that you may have attended. In the past, you could post questions and someone on the background would answer them. What we've done this time is we've made it available to where you can see all the questions and comments that are posted. We want this webinar to be a little bit more interactive than what we've had in the past. Part of what we're going to be doing when Paige is speaking is going to be open it up for discussion. And that means if you have a microphone and want to chat, want to add to the conversation, we're going to test out an idea of being able to have you raise your hand, and we can activate on our end to allow you to speak to the group if you would like. You don't have to if you don't want to, but we're opening it up if you would like to contribute to the chat. Once again, so our focus today is going to be on teacher incentive allotment. If you have other questions or questions that we don't answer during today's topic, or questions that might be off topic, you can always email us at training@eduphoria.net. We'd be happy to correspond with you and get the answers that you need. So this is a general overview of what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to start off with just kind of like basics of House Bill 3 and what TIA is. And part of that is because we can see who is registered. We know that there's a large group of administrators on here, but there's also groups of teachers and principals and HR people. So we want to kind of provide an overview of what teacher incentive allotment is. We want to point out existing resources that are available to you and the specific resources on the TIA website. We also have our own help articles to assist you. We are a technical support for TIA, so we're here to help. And so we'll be showing you how to access those resources. And then the third part will be a discussion. We're going to have some polls where we're asking for your feedback, and that's also where we'll open it up for trying the open microphone in this type of webinar. So again, we have a lot to cover. We're going to be sharing all this information with you, but we're going to start with a guest speaker. It's my privilege to introduce a special guest who would like to share some information with you. His name is Colin, and he is our CEO here at Eduphoria.
Thanks, Joel. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I appreciate the time. Actually, you can thank Shanna. She actually suggested I come in here and share some words. And I really want to speak for the organization as well as for myself. When I say that we're very excited to be in the position that we're in, to provide these resources and to be a supporting entity for all of the districts that we serve. I mean, this goes back years ago for us in combining workshop and PDOS into a collective tool, later on adding in student growth goals, working closely with the TEA at the time and Tim Regal on how they were designing SLOs and how they were looking at implementing them and building out more functionality in our tools, but also expertise in our organization to really be a supporting entity as well. And we've been working with, you can thank Shanna. Shanna sat in pretty much all the calls. We've been working with Texas Tech. We've been working with the TEA, also Tim Regal ongoing, even working with Region 7 and DMAC to make sure we're all really syncing over how do we provide the data to empower Texas Tech to make the right decisions and to do the right research. How do we guide them in how we've been collecting the data? And that's where I think conversations across providers with DMAC and us has been so productive in making sure that the TEA and Texas Tech really understand the details of what they're working in and how y'all are using these systems and what the challenges you're facing in these practices, and relaying all of that back as champions of this work to make sure that this can really go in the best possible direction based on all the feedback and all the experiences that we've had collectively with all of you over the last over 15 years of working in the realm of evaluation and professional development and assessment and all those fun things. And so it's a very exciting experience for us to have done all of the work and been part of all these processes to know that at this point in time, with so much chaos in education, and the TIA process in of itself is a lot. It's a very involved application process, and there's a lot of work that districts have to put into that. And so that in of itself is a challenge. The greater world of dealing with COVID, we know, is another huge challenge. So it's an ocean of chaos with a small island of chaos within that. And if in any way we can be a beacon of order and a beacon of support, and hey, Eduphoria's got this information, Eduphoria is a technical provider, Eduphoria can help us through some of these things, both in their technology and in their resources, that's incredibly exciting for us. And so this presentation, as Joel just said, is the tip of an iceberg into the other things that we'll be providing as we go through into the fall. And I just wanted to come in and share that this is a big focus for our organization. Really, this and assessment practices is really two primary pillars that Eduphoria is focusing on as we go into the 2021 school year. And I'm super excited to get this started. And I hope that all of you get some good information now and that we're able to continually support you effectively as you go into the school year. So thanks for the time, Joel, Shanna, and Paige. I hope everyone gets good information out of this.
Thank you, Colin. All right, so I'm now going to hand over to my co-host Shanna, and she's going to be presenting on her computer. So Shanna, are you ready to receive?
I'm ready.
Okay, she's nervous.
I know, it's been a while since I've done this. I feel like
So I'm going to stop sharing on mine, and you should see where you're going to share on your end.
I see.
And I see your screen, so you did good.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, perfect. So, so I appreciate Colin stepping in. I really thought it would be good. This has been for a long time. This has been a topic that we've been, having discussions about and meetings about, and so. I'm glad that he was able to share some of that, because it really is a main focus of us moving forward. So, all right. So I'm going to do a very high level overview of the teacher incentive allotment today. And I would definitely say that, there's a huge amount of resources. So I'm going to call those out a little bit, but many of you may be aware of what it is, but if not, this is a program. It is a part of House Bill 3. So the teacher incentive allotment came about in House Bill 3 in legislation, and it is dedicated to recruiting and supporting and retaining highly effective teachers in all schools. it focuses and actually provides some incentive for the high need areas and rural schools as well. So that is basically the purpose of the teacher incentive allotment. They have for the entire House Bill 3, they've created a series of videos called HB3 in 30. And those are very, I'm gonna pull my screen down a little bit because I'm not seeing that, but there's a list of all the different areas where they talk about everything that was passed in HB3 in House Bill 3. And then there's one, if you keep scrolling kind of, you'll find one on the teacher incentive allotment. So that is definitely something I would encourage you to do. I'm not gonna make you sick by scrolling anymore, but I would encourage you to go in, watch that House Bill 3 and 30 over the TIA and listen to Tim Riegel explain it. When we first started talking about this, I was like, okay, wait a second, I'm not sure I understand. And so the way he goes through the presentation and really lays it out, it helps make sense for sure. In addition, they have rolled out, like as of like June, I guess the 2nd or something, they rolled out a new website. So this tiatexas.org. And on this website, there is a lot of information here. I like, they've added some additional graphics. And so there's a lot of stuff that, that really, I think is very helpful as well. So I would encourage you to go check that out. Let's see. All right. So the thing that impressed me the most is the pathway to a 6-figure salary. So this is the reason, and I believe that when Commissioner Morath shared this and when he presented it, he shared a video. I don't know if you guys have seen the one of, it's called "If We Treated Teachers Like Pro Athletes" with Key and Peele. And there's this whole back and forth with them about like teachers in a draft, and oh, and so decided they were gonna leave this school and go to that campus. And so it's it's a great video to watch, but that really was the kind of the driving point with this whole incentive program. So the pathway to the 6-figure salary. So again, this is just a little graphic that kind of talks about the process of getting there. And the main focus is the districts will create an optional, this is optional, this is not required, this is an optional thing. You have to actually send in a letter of intent to say you want to participate. And you at the district level will create a local designation system. So what this means is you will bring stakeholders together in your district leadership, school leadership, teachers, board members, budget and finance, several different people. You want to make sure they're all at the table, and you will design this designation system. And having the right people at the table is very important. And this will be the bulk of your work. So this is a lot. So I think that's why they didn't really require it, because it is a lot of work to put forth, because you're creating your own designation system. So the way they have it laid out is that they have different cohorts that are joining there are different cohorts that are joining, and when you send your letter of intent, you say which cohort you want to join. So pretty much A and B have already kind of done theirs. They've already gone through the process. C is currently finalizing the details with cohort C. So some of you on here may already be in one of those cohorts. If you are, we would love to hear your feedback and to get some information from you as well. But so looking at the next cohort we have is cohort D. And so the timeline here, they're going to post the application November 1st in 2020. So you'll see that application posted, And then the data review is not due to Texas Tech until November of 2022. So for Cohort D and beyond, you guys are going to have a little bit of time, which you'll need that time to fully plan out your designation system. So in the application, there are things that they call Success Factor 1. Success Factor 1 is basically revolves around the observation process, making sure you have a calibrated system, you have inter-rater reliability. It basically checks not only your rubric and your questions and the validity of your questions that you're asking, but also ensuring that everybody's evaluating at the same level. And so that is, for us, one of our biggest areas that we'll be focusing on. How can we help you with the things listed here as far as the criteria? So what are some things that we can put into place, either by helping support you, coach, give some ideas, or even how can we think of new features or development that is needed to help you with some of these processes. So this is where we're going to be leaning very heavily on those of you that have already gone through the process, or those of you, as you look at your needs, we're really going to be looking at, kind of tapping into that. This is a partnership for sure. The second factor, Success Factor 2, revolves more around student growth. And this definitely is an area in Strive that we need to grow and that we want to improve. I also feel we've already gotten questions from districts that we've worked with. I feel is definitely something that we really want input on. We need to work through how we can better serve this and how we can help you with determining, accurate and reliable measures, and how can we support this area too. So again, these are our two main focus areas that we will be wanting feedback from you, asking for, your needs and providing support. And Joel will actually go over some of those areas that we've already put in place. Some of the stuff we've already, have our support in place, and some we will continue to build. So he'll review that with you as well. So when I talk about the local designation system, the designations as defined are recognized, exemplary, and master. Those are the three designations that teachers can achieve. That's not like, if there's not like a specific measure that you have to achieve from the district level, from the state level. This is where that local system comes into play. So your stakeholders, when you sit at the table and you say, okay, what does a recognized teacher look like? What are what do we have here as our qualities or characteristics of a recognized teacher? What's an exemplary teacher, and what's a master teacher? And so you identify that within your district, and then this is a part of what you would submit to the TEA, and you would say, this is what our recognized teacher looks like. These are the attributes. These are the things that we're measuring to determine a recognized teacher, or exemplary and mastery. So you submit that to the TEA, and they review that, and then they'll either guide you, respond, and give you some additional guidance or whatever in certain areas, or they'll accept it. The data part of it will come in with Texas Tech. And so again, that's another area of where we will be discussing with you what are the needs that you have, what are reports. We want to make sure that the data, that's a huge part of this, right? Because we're talking about money. We want to make sure the data is 100% working for you, it's accurate, and you're able to easily share that data with Texas Tech when it comes time for you to submit that. So again, that's also another one of our focuses and goals. The certificate or the designation will stay with the teacher on their certificate for 5 years. we will definitely have options to include that designation within Strive. Also, national board members, that's also another part of it. We're not really related to that, but if you are nationally board certified, it automatically puts you at the recognized level. So I think the most impressive thing to me in looking at this, it's really hard to determine because there are ranges here. The ranges, the base is, there's like a calculation that they use for each of these to determine how you meet a certain number. It's based on socioeconomic need or a rural campus, and they have like a point system for the students, and they have a calculation that I'm not even going to begin to explain, but they can assign that value to students, and then therefore it's assigned to a campus, and then it gives you a number that you can make. So this money right here is on top of your salary. So if you're a teacher and you are exemplary, if you get that rating within your district, if you become exemplary, then you have the ability to make $6,000 on top of your salary at the very baseline on up to $18,000. So there is on that TIAtexas.org website, they have a funding allotment map, and this is very new. So if you guys have, again, I continually check back to this website and other resources because they're constantly adding resources and they're constantly changing. But as of June 1st, this is one of the things that they've added, and you can actually look at the funding allotment map. You can do searches by district name, a specific district or campus, cities, and you can look for specific areas, and it will actually tell you the campus name. And this is not even by district, this is by a campus. So a campus name, it gives you the flag, and then it will tell you the amount you can make over, again, this is on top of your salary. So if you're a teacher in College Station at A&M Consolidated High School, if you're recognized, you'll make an additional $4,052. Exemplary is $8,105, and then master is $15,509. So you see the ranges change based on again that socioeconomic and rural, those flags, and that's a calculation. So essentially, what I think that, the idea here is that, if you're a teacher and you're headed to a certain area and you're trying to determine what district you're going to work at or whatever, I mean, you could go in here and shop around and find, like, oh, I could go here and I would get this much more money. So this completely fascinates me. And I think if you guys haven't seen this map, I can see you're going to like already either Googling and looking at it, or and playing around, because it was really, I spent a long time on this map when we first started. So anyway, so that is pretty much the high level overview of where we are and kind of how we see the teacher incentive allotment. And now I'm going to pass it on to Joel, and I'm going to let him share now how we're going to begin helping with that process. Okay, I stopped sharing.
Yeah, I took it from you.
Okay, good.
I have that power.
All powerful.
All powerful. So
and he likes to brag about it.
I do. I do, yes. So just to kind of review a little bit of what Shanna said, but if you access our help section, our help articles, and now if you're inside applications and you click help, the little Eddie helps thing will pop up. There's a link in there for additional help articles, and it will take you here to the main help screen. We have a section in our help called Teacher Incentive Allotment, specific for Texas schools. Some of our districts are not in Texas, but we have this specific link just for our Texas schools. And we're creating the documentation to kind of help in the different areas that we know of and where we can provide support to you as you're filling out the application, and as you're having, as Shanna described, the conversation at the table, what it is that you need that you can get from us. So just a real quick look at that. We have another section we're developing over here that's going to be the data analysis side, and working with our AWARE training team as well to make sure that we have everything that we need on here. So our focus of support within TEA, we're an approved TEA vendor to provide support to districts, and we're able to provide that support for teacher observation and appraisal, the student growth measures, and also the data analysis part. What Shanna was just showing you, there's a link on here for TEA resources. And there's a link I put here for that funding allotment map. So if you're looking for that, it's right here. It's also linked, of course, under the tiatexas.org link that will take you there. The rest is kind of TEA's website before they created the TIA website. It goes to the TEA, back to their main page where they were originally posting information, including the application information and also their presentation that is part of this House Bill 3 and 30 video that was available. That's embedded here. If you wanted to share it as well, you can copy the link and use it how you want. I'm also interested to see how like our ESC partners are doing, because they are also providing a lot of information to districts as well. Region 10 has a great TIA guidance website full of resources. Region 11, they actually have an open dialogue weekly chat for districts to connect with, and they answer questions and provide guidance, and they kind of do what we're going to do here today, which is invite conversation about how it's going and what it is that you need help with. And so I found that to be really good and worth sharing. And then of course, ESC 13 also has a list of workshops that they've already done, and they are continuing to do for training for TIA and providing support. So if I missed any of the other ESCs that might be joining us, feel free to share those resources with me. I'd love to put them up here and guide people towards what you're doing. The ESCs are also going to be effective for helping you with calibration resources, the actual process of calibration, the training for calibration. You'll be able to get that kind of information from your ESCs. So stay in contact with your ESCs about TIA, because they are a great resource for you for everything from filling out the application to all the different areas of support of the TIA system. So that was under TIA resources links. Again, we have articles that we're designing and writing and creating for you to help with the process and for filling out the application. We're going to be adding information to this as we develop it. The thing that Shanna was pointing out up on the website, so the TIA Incentive Allotment site, it's tiatexas.org. Information changes, you know, it's interesting. I think as they're getting the data in from cohort A and B now, they're kind of seeing what's needed and making changes as they go. Imagine that. And they're making changes to documentation, to kind of requirements, and getting that information up on this site. So like Shanna was saying, go back to the site often so that you can be up to date on what's going on and what changes may be occurring within the very system itself. But there's a lot of good resources on their website, a lot of good demonstrations and just kind of infographics about how the process works. So if you're still kind of wrapping your brain around it, going to this website and getting the overview and going through the about TIA information, all of this information will be a great start for you to figure out how this works and to start building the team to have the conversation about your local designation system. And with that, we're going to do a poll real quick. I'm going to start a poll, and I'm asking everyone to participate. if you're able, the poll is going to ask a question: which cohort are you in or are you planning to join? So I'm going to launch that poll. You should see it on your screen somewhere. Ooh, I see data coming in. So exciting. I'm going to give you a few
They are on
seconds.
it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give it 10 more seconds.
Yeah, I do know there is a beyond cohort D for sure. They haven't really announced it yet, but
Okay.
so that I'm sure is probably that.
All right.
We're only about 60% of our people voting. You want to give them a couple more seconds?
Sure. In the meantime, do you want me to hand it over to you, Paige, and you can get set up?
Sure.
All right. I'll let you do it. Oh, some people didn't see it on their screen.
Aw.
I can see your screen, Paige. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to end the poll. I think we got a pretty good response rate.
Okay, very good. And thank you all for participating in the poll. That's helpful information to us, and hopefully it will help us provide more helpful information to you. So what we want to do now is have the discussion part of the day. So I got the easy section. I just get to ask you guys some questions. And first we want to talk about the application process. The application is a little intense. It's pretty complex and detailed. So I want to find out who's already done their application, and do you have anything you want to share with the rest of the group about that process, about your experience, tips that you have, what was hard about it. Oops, I went to the wrong direction. There we go. So in your list where you see the participants, you have a button at the bottom that says you can raise your hand. And if you have something that you would like to share, if you'll raise your hand, I will enable your mic so that you can talk to the group. There we go, Jim, thank you. I'm going to allow you to talk. So what would you like to share with us? Okay.
I'm not hearing Jim.
I'm not either. Where did he go? He popped up to the top. And now he's gone. Okay. Kathleen, I'm going to enable yours until I can find Jim again. Okay, Kathleen.
All right, I muted myself now.
Okay.
I completed the application and got it back with some notes from TEA. And the biggest section we had difficulty with was the section on SLOs. And
Okay.
I listed a lot of the SLO forms that are provided by the training website, and the reviewer had never seen those forms. So she needed a lot more description about what information that those forms were requesting regarding SLOs. So those were the biggest.
So
revisions.
what were the forms that you sent to her? Where were they from?
SLO, student learning objective forms that are provided as a part of the SLO training.
Okay.
I had to go back in and add some notes about what information was required on those forms.
Okay. So I think one of the things that they may have been looking for, and one of the things that's going to be new to a lot of you doing SLOs currently, is that under TIA, they are looking for a specific growth measure. They want to measure how the teacher's performance is impacting student growth. And that's something that hasn't been done with a lot of the SLO processes up to this point. So that is one thing that they're probably going to look for in your process when you do that application. So that's good to know. And then anything else that was a struggle for you, or that you'd like to share with us?
It is time intensive. Give yourself plenty of time, that's for sure.
Okay, very, very good suggestion. Peter, if you would like to unmute.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Hey, okay, hang on, Peter.
I
Um,
know, I'm muting myself.
you can, that's okay. I just want to mention, I also want to throw out there, I chatted with another district that also got the feedback about SLOs and stuff. If there's a way we could gather some of that, because it would be great if we could pair some groups together. I know your timeline is a little bit limited. You have like August something to respond, but maybe if you want to, I don't know, Joel, you guys could help us figure out how to gather that. But if you guys are willing or want to chat with another district that also had that same feedback, I do know one other district. So I just want to throw that out there. So, okay.
Yeah, thank you. And we would like to hear, because as Joel said, we are building our support section as we're flying the plane, so to speak. So any information we get from you about what you're needing, we'd like to hear that and try to help. Okay, Peter, what would you like to share with us?
Well, I might have just been completely way off on the whole thing because I thought I could whip that application out in a couple hours or less. Yeah, that was wrong. I was doing good until I started talking about, because I'm over curriculum, so we re-looked at SLOs. I think we were feeling kind of good with that. But then when we started talking into HR and then finance questions, that they were not really that involved. And so I just had to shut it down and say, we're just going to redo this again. And I need to get with finance because I was not expecting some of those questions. So I think that was probably the best thing. And maybe there is somewhere out there that they have the application already out before having to fill it out. There's a form that we can already start looking at. So I have those questions ready to go.
Okay.
We went for Cohort C and I said, never mind. I'll just go Cohort D.
And it is, you know, you look at that timeline and you think, okay, the application for D opens up in November of 20, and then data doesn't come in for like 2 years later. So they want you to take the time to go through and make sure that your process is set and is going to be what you want it to be. I don't know, those of you who've done the application, if you watched this video that's on the TIAtexas.org site, but this little video just walks you through the application, not step by step, doesn't tell you everything, but it does tell you a few tips. Like the first time I downloaded the spreadsheet, I thought it was like any other spreadsheet, and I clicked around from tab to tab. And in this spreadsheet, the way they have it built with some of the conditional formatting, you need to go left to right one tab at a time, and then it changes some of the things in the upcoming questions. So there were a lot of little tips in this video. For those of you who haven't started your application yet, I would recommend watching that video quickly before it's not very long, before you do your application. It just kind of helps you. And then to be prepared that it is an in-depth and complicated application. They're asking you a lot of questions, I think in part because they want you to think about all those things before you jump in.
Yeah, I was expecting to turn an application and they reject it and give me pointers what to do next time, then revise it. But I couldn't even get through the application. I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So
I think we're all going to learn some things about the application as y'all start going through it. But I appreciate your sharing with us.
Okay.
Kathleen, I'm going to allow you to unmute.
Oh, another tip that I learned about the application is there's a character limit. And so they're asking you for some pretty thorough explanations. And so then I would always get, oh, you've run out of character. So TA gave me a tip that I liked, just insert a comment. So if it's not enough area on the space, just insert comment.
That is true. And that's one thing that they do say in the little video is that most of the boxes that ask for comments are 100 to 150 characters, which is not very much. There's a couple of places in there where it specifically states a character number. Other than that, it's going to be around 100, 150. So those are things just to know going in. Once you get your statements prepared, pare them down because they're going to be a little bit shorter than you expect. Thank you all for sharing about what you saw in the application so far. And I'm going to move on to the second question. What upcoming parts are you concerned about? And this can be for anybody, whether you have done the application or not. What are you worried about? What's at the top of your list right now about the TIA process? And again, you can raise your hand if you want to share with us. And okay, Catherine.
Mine is the data collection, making sure we collect the best data, and then the data analysis. We are doing the value added measure, and I'm nervous because STAR was part of the plan. So that's taken away my data points from this last year. So I'm getting nervous now.
I'm glad, well, not glad to hear that you're nervous, but I'm glad to hear you mention that one, because that is one of the areas that we are approved to try to support you with. So we are going to be building out some resources in our help section about data analysis and about those different student growth measures. So hopefully we'll be able to provide some guidance when you get closer to that point.
And I'm guessing that they will, I mean, they're have to take in some consideration of that, especially, you know, like trying to figure that out and navigate that. I remember we had a meeting with Tim Regal, like at the very beginning of the whole COVID thing. And he was like, yeah, we're going to have to make some provisional things. So I think that's something that they would definitely look at if you, you know, are turning that in. That's
I would expect to hear something from them also.
Hey, Paige, we had a comment come in from Ronnie. She said TEA may contact you for clarifications, even if it is not a requirement for approval as a concern.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good thing to know. So they are not prescribing the system that you create, but they are looking for reliability and validity. So they're going to question some things if they're not clear on exactly what you're doing. So
I can also add, there was a question posted too. Have we had any TEA staff or regional staff looking at our Strive SLO information?
Shanna can probably answer that best, because I know she's worked with Tim Regal.
Well, yeah, I mean, they haven't specifically looked at it. We've had a lot of conversations with them. You know, one of the things that you know, that we kind of talked about is, you know, you know, one of the approaches that we took in Strive was we did not want to make it, because it is so limited in, you know, the things that, I mean, it's so flexible in the ways that you can capture student growth. Like our student growth goal, we did not call an SLO specifically because we wanted it to be about student growth. So one of the things that we've talked about is how Strive is so flexible that there are ways to incorporate all of those different pieces in there. And that is one of the things that we are going to lay out, like when we start having our you know, kind of our support materials is, okay, you can use, set a student growth goal in Strive, and then you can have your measures, maybe even if it's a VAM measure, you could do your calculations and upload to, because the teacher can add that evidence to that student growth goal in Strive. If you're doing a portfolio combination in Aware, they can connect that. So really, what the bottom line of our conversation with the TEA and the things, you know, that we were kind of talking about was, they don't really care all of those pieces. They want you to have all those pieces, but they do want a percentage score. They want to see that number from this number to that number. So, you know, we had a lot of conversations about it, and so basically what they said to me in response to the student growth measures is that they were going to take some of the information in A and B, and I think a lot of A and B cohorts are doing VAM already, because I think that was they already had things in place. But I think they're going to take some of that feedback, and I think that this is one of those areas that they will continue to update support materials and guidance in that area. I'm not sure if I answered your question at all, but but we've definitely been in conversation with them about it.
And we'll continue to be.
Yeah.
All right. So our third question, I just want to know if there are some specific topics that you would like for us to cover. We are planning additional webinars to our TIA webinar series, and we're planning additional articles for our help section. We've already talked about having an inter-rater reliability session coming up and a calibration session. The 3 areas that we are approved to support are teacher observation and appraisal, student growth measures, and data analysis. And we've already heard some concerns in some of those areas, but are there any specific webinar topics that you would like to see from us on in one of these 3 areas that we could add to our series about TIA? If anybody has a suggestion for us, raise your hand, or if you don't want to actually raise your hand, you can put something in the questions for us. But we'd like to hear what you would like to see from us as we're planning. And I'm not seeing any hands right now.
They're typing.
They're all doing questions.
Yeah, give them time, Paige.
Well, I thought they would just want to click the button and be done. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any come in right now, so I'm going to. Oh, we got a hand raised. Dixie, what do you have to share with us?
I think all 3 of those need to be topics that Eduphoria covers over the coming.
Oh, we will definitely be covering these topics, but if you have any sort of a subtopic, if there's something specific.
I think the student growth measures is
Okay.
an area that I see a lot of my districts sort of are having trouble figuring that out. The student growth measures.
All right, thank you very much. And then Kathleen also said she would like to hear more about inter-rater reliability, and we do have that on our radar also. The TTU data validation process. Okay, so yeah, that's something that we have talked about but haven't really planned what we're going to do in the webinar. How to actually input goals, build portfolios and SLOs. Okay, that's a good, we have had those in the past, and we can do another one as part of this series if that's something that would be helpful. And then how to measure growth without STAR assessment. I imagine that Ed would jump right on that topic. So we'll try to see if we can line him up for that one. These are good suggestions. I appreciate everybody throwing the answers in there. I have a couple more hands up. Let me click on Benjamin. Would you like to give us your suggestions?
Yes. I want to also reiterate the curiosities I have around pre and post test, particularly, and just to be specific, on cohort C and on the student growth tab, question 4 under pre and post test says, what are the district-wide requirements for approving the pre and post tests? Whereas in the instructions, the document they have for instructions, the question, same number under the same pre and post test category, the question is, what is the district's, how are we determining 1 year of student growth for using pre and post test? So those are two very different questions. They acknowledge, TEA did acknowledge that they are different questions and they need to correct that. My question is primarily around the one that's in the instructions that says, how are we going to determine a year's growth? That's, I think, if you're using pre and post tests, I want to know what's a valid and reliable way to determine a year's growth in students.
Yeah, that is something that I think we haven't done maybe as much of as we need to in the past. And so I think all the districts are going to be struggling with that. I'm going to put that on the list to talk about determining those kinds of numbers, and that'll be part of the data analysis, but we'll put that on the list to talk about actually doing pre and post test as required. You know, what are they requiring and what are we going to try to get in terms of that number? And this is kind of a change because we haven't been looking for specific numbers in terms of evaluations with t-tests in the past, but now we're going to be looking at some specific numbers. So thank you all for your suggestions. We are collecting these both from the comments and the things that people raised their hands and talked about. And we'll be announcing some additional webinars in this series and adding articles to our help section based on your input. So we appreciate that. We do have another poll, and Joel, I'm going to stop sharing.
No, you can keep sharing.
I can keep sharing? Okay.
Yeah, it'll just pop up. Let's see here. I think I have to switch it. So this particular poll is also something to help us for the future. For those of you who have already experienced filling out the application, maybe you've had success in areas that are represented in what you're doing in your district or at your campus. So we're looking for people who'd like to join us and share, because like that last question that Paige asked is, as responses were coming in, I know that there are districts out there that have answers to help. So we're looking for that help. I mean, we are, you know, we keep saying we're posting articles, but we're also, like Paige and the PLC team, they are coaching best practice. So as we're learning more and more about what districts are doing, we're kind of building this menu of support to help that's beyond what is in a readable article or viewable video. And so we want to kind of connect with you to let you share your experiences. So the poll is going to ask, would you be willing to share your experiences or examples in a future webinar? And you can say, I'm willing to share, or I'd be willing to share privately if you wanted to use that information, or I'm not really willing to share it right now. So I'm going to launch the poll to let y'all answer that. And just know, again, we're kind of getting groups of districts. We already have kind of a list of some districts that have topics they want to share. Like maybe a district has a lot of great resources for how they're doing SLO, and they want to provide that. So we're curating that information now. I heard something. I wasn't sure who that was. Awesome. I'm getting good responses, y'all.
And Paige, I shared a link with you. There was a document that it made me think of whenever Benjamin was asking his question a while ago about the student growth performance standards. You may have already seen this document, but in a minute I'm going to want to have her share that just to see. There's some guidance in there, and it's something that, again, after digging through sites, I found, and I can't even tell you how to go back there, but I'm sure it's somewhere.
Where did you share it with me?
In Slack. Sorry, it was just a link to that.
Okay.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Well,
it's like reading someone's conversation.
I know. Yeah, you can close that. I can. Sorry.
I'm not sure those results, you had them. So this is good information. Thank you everyone for sharing with us. And like I said, we're kind of curating a group and want to get those districts that are experienced with this to share those resources and how they're filling things out. Maybe specifically like calibration. We talked about calibration internally, and we're talking with districts that have a process in place for what they're doing to calibrate their appraisers. So we're hoping to book time with them to let them share in a future webinar about what their process is for calibration with their appraisers. And so we'll be, like I said, curating that list and getting that information for you. Go ahead, Paige, are you showing something?
I am showing the document that Shanna shared. So this is the student growth performance standards, and I am going to put it, there we go. I'm going to put the link to this because it looks like you have to drive around a little bit to find it. I'm going to put it in an answer to Carla. So the link will be in there, and y'all can find it in the Q&A section.
I wasn't sure how to do that, so I do apologize for sharing.
That's okay.
I don't know that this will answer your question, but I thought this was really good guidance when it came to student growth. So my understanding is where it says recognize 55% of the students met or exceeded expected growth. For a recognized teacher. So I again, these are calculations. I think that's something that within your stakeholder group you kind of put this to task and figure that out. But to me, this was very helpful to kind of read through that just to get an idea of measuring the student growth performance.
It is, and thank you for sharing that. There's probably a better way to share it than what I just did, but it is in the Q&A section, so y'all can find the link there.
We could also maybe include it in the email follow-up, maybe, Joel?
Yeah, I can link it there or somewhere, yeah.
All right. Joel, do you want me to stop sharing, or do you want me to just go back to the slides and walk through them?
Let's just go back to the slides and we'll close out pretty soon.
Okay. Is the poll closed?
The poll is closed. I was sharing the results, so I'll go ahead and close that. And if you want to go to the next slide, we can, I think if you have final questions, you're welcome to post those in the Q&A. It's a really good thing, you know, this Zoom tool that we're using, it saves the Q&A questions for us. So if there's things in there that we weren't able to answer, we'll be able to respond to you there. And again, if you have questions or comments about today's webinar, or you want additional information, or maybe you weren't able to answer the poll questions or raise your hand, feel free to email us at training@eduphoria.net. We would love to hear from you. So just reach out to us if we can help.
I also want to add, if we haven't answered your question in here, we'll definitely take it down and try to get back with you. I'm a little overwhelmed with all the questions that have come in. I feel like they need it.
That's good.
It's good, but they're mostly on assessment and things. So I would really love to get some input from Ed and Jason and some of the other trainers and folks. We'll
get some more heads involved before we plan our next sessions.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I just want to point out some upcoming topics we're going to be discussing. So we just added the one that's going to be in the morning next week. This is called, it's a new feature we have coming out. Shanna is going to be presenting with us. We're so excited to share it. It's called Strive Conferences.
Woohoo!
And the three of us will be on the webinar again as a team, talking about what this new feature is, showing it off. It's, y'all, it's so
I'm so
cool.
excited about it.
We're very excited. And so we kind of, it's one of those things of trying to figure out where to put it on the calendar that's best. And we were like, oh, we don't have any time on the Wednesday afternoons anymore. So we crowbarred it into a morning on July 15th. We hope that you can join us. Again, when you register for any of our webinars, you will automatically receive a link to the recorded show. So even like this one today, tomorrow around this time, you'll receive an email from us that has the link to today's recorded webinar. And so if you want to register for any of these, even if you can't make it, you'll still receive the link to it. We're not saying don't come to our webinars, but just know if you register and you have a meeting or something else pops up and you're not able to attend, you will still receive the link automatically to the recorded webinar. So that'll be next week, Wednesday morning, 10 a.m.
Wednesday's a double header.
Bright and early. We're going to have our coffee, right, everyone? Yes?
Yes, yes.
And then in the afternoon, we're going to do Strive, begin with the end in mind. And this one is, we kind of do it every year, but again, taking into account TIA, taking into account some districts are already discussing the updated TPES framework that came out. There's information in our help section about that, but we're going to be talking about these things and the best guidance we have towards setting up your Strive, setting up your everything in Strive, making sure everything's updated and ready for a successful school year. After that, our Aware team comes back hitting, and so they're going to have the teacher data viewing, editing. That sounds exciting, right? That'll be Wednesday, July 22nd. And then online testing updates will be closing out the end of July, and we'll start building our August schedule very soon. So those webinars are posted in our help section. under upcoming webinars, and you can go ahead and register for those and be part of the audience there. The last part is if you have not signed up for updates, y'all, we have this great marketing team now, and they're kind of making sure the right announcements are going to the right people. We have newsletters they're publishing full of information. And so sign up to receive those. You can go to our help section and under news and announcements, sign up there under how can I receive announcements. So we're also on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, posting all day long and sharing whatever we can. So, ooh, right at the bell, 3 o'clock. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much. This has been really fun for us. We haven't done an interactive webinar like this before, so we appreciate all of you who attended and all of you who had voiced and texted your comments and
Absolutely.
shared, and that's been very helpful for a group of former teachers and professional trainers who miss interacting with our kids and our adults. And so it has been great connecting with you all and hearing your voice as part of this conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Y'all have a great week.